Ekarath grabbed Zahara's arm, her entire body trembling. He could feel the strength in her muscles struggling to keep her upright, and he lent her his strength. From above, a final cry launched from the griffin's throat as it climbed back into the clouds. The call was enough to destroy the last of Zahara's resolve, and her legs gave out. Ekarath stopped her from collapsing completely, helping her down onto the slick rock. A wave of shivers swept across her entire body, and a sob launched from her throat, followed by tears. Unsure of how to respond, Ekarath sat down at her side, putting his arm around her shoulders. "It's all right," he said in what felt like a comforting tone. He tried to imagine a father comforting a young child after a bad dream, only this was no nightmare. "Everything is going to be okay." Zahara continued sobbing for another minute before gaining control of herself. She pulled away and looked up into his face. Even when red from tears, he couldn't see anything but beauty in those dark eyes. "That was absolutely horrific," Zahara said, swallowing hard. "I'm so sorry for making us come up here." "There's no need to apologize," Ekarath said. "Besides, now I can say that I've personally laid eyes on the Usurper, though I'm not sure if anybody will believe me." "You didn't need to be here for the spell," Zahara said, another sob threatening to break through the words. "I just didn't want to be alone in case something went wrong." "Well, there is a bright side to this. It seems unlikely that we'll get in any real trouble for leaving the Outsada. Nobody's going to care about punishing 2 kids when the Usurper's horde is knocking on the gates." Those words made Zahara look back across the valley, and Ekarath followed her gaze to the column of black armor emerging from the dense forest. He knew there were farmers down there, probably already on their way to tend the fields. Would they be able to flee to the fortress in time? Would escaping the horde now do anything beyond delay the inevitable? "How long do you think we have before the assault?" Zahara asked. "Weeks, maybe months," Ekarath replied, tearing his gaze away from the army and directing it toward the Usurper. He and his griffin were already small in the distance, barely visible even to his sharp eyes. "There's too much protecting the Outsada to just launch an assault." Ekarath let his sentence trail off, unsure of what to say next. There was no point rehashing the war that had started before his birth. It was no secret how most battles against the Usurper had gone. "Let's get back inside," Zahara whispered. "I have a feeling that everybody is awake, and I don't want anyone to worry about us." Ekarath scrambled upright to help Zahara, but she didn't seem to notice his outstretched hand as she forced herself up. Ekarath simply nodded in response, and the pair began the descent. The red stone was growing warm in the morning sun, and Ekarath knew it would only get worse. With red dirt smudged on their faces, Ekarath and Zahara climbed back into the covered portico that had been so deserted before sunrise. While still far too early for most residents of the Outsada, the horns had stirred the fortress like a hornet's nest. The boulevard was filled with a cacophony of soldiers, messengers, and laborers, and the earlier silence was replaced by a buzz of 100 conversations. Within the fortress, the horns of the Usurper's horde were almost as loud as they had been on the Outsada's peak. "I should probably report to Master Kanu," Zahara said, and Ekarath turned toward her. Ekarath could barely focus on her words. There was still evidence of the earlier tears, but the look on her face was like steel. Without thinking, he wrapped her in an embrace. "Stay safe," he whispered. "I'll come find you when I can." The words sent a wave of ice through his own veins, unsure if he had actually let them pass his lips. Unwilling to hear her response, Ekarath pulled away and disappeared into the crowd.